All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the weekly crypto webinar. If you're new, particularly welcome to you. Just to, again, do the typical housekeeping. I'm going to ignore requests that are put in the question box. As typical, it just interrupts the workflow. It's tough for me to, I'm also not prepared if it's a new request. But I've got a request thread. Let's see, it is 9:22 Eastern time yesterday. So you're welcome to put more in there. Not too much there yet, so we've got plenty of time. But today's webinar, what I wanna do is, obviously we're at a very important point in this market, and what I'll do is spend considerable extra time going over Bitcoin, Ether, and GBTC, so that we understand some tactics for managing the point we're in right now. And I hope that becomes really helpful for you guys. So unless there's any questions, I will jump right in. I'm gonna try to take this slow and just be thoughtful so that you guys find this really useful. So the key bottom line here is when I zoom out on this count, zoom into the 2 hour. What we have had, of course, as you know, is we've had since our top back in short-term top back in early May, we've had this complete sideways action. Really, really, really difficult to trade. But in the midst of it, so first of all, we have to look at brass tacks facts, and we have higher lows off of that area with sort of flat top. It's potential that ultimately by the end of this, we have an ascending triangle and we do get one more little breakout. And that breakout could point anywhere from 11,000 to 12,000. However, in the context of that, we've got daily technicals starting to decay. And so the daily internals are getting quite bad, at least in short term. And so just want to show that real quick. Let's see where I have this. Yeah, so if you look at daily internals here, particularly RSI, we are trending down, and quite often when we see a drop below 30, if you look at history, once you get a drop below, sorry, not 30 but 40, once you get a drop below 40, you generally get a nice swing down. So you could see how that occurred back here in the May 2019 top. RSI started to trend down. It had a sort of flat bottom and then eventually sort of popped, and we had the stronger drop into that May correction. And we're starting to see that build up here. It doesn't mean it's a definite at all. And as long as we get higher lows, and we take out, I would say particularly if we could take out this last red bar, then we can get that one more high. So that's why, a couple of days ago I said I got my bear slippers on. That's the rest of the bear suit's not on, but the bear slippers are on. I got one foot in the bearish case, and I'm really I'm slightly more interested in short trades, but we're really not there where short trades are very safe either. So again, we can look at these price bars. These are where a lot of sellers come in. Rest assured, there are a lot of folks with some stops in that area. So if we can retake those highs, then there's a chance we can also get one more high out of this. But again, look at the context, look at the decaying internals. I've started to use Fisher. You can see Fisher's starting to show that trending down, even though price is sideways. So this really isn't a technically healthy sideways move. I'm going to look at some examples in the past where sideways moves are a bit more healthy as an example, but technicals are technicals. Technicals, as I always remind you guys, it really aren't to be relied on as much as price. And so I look at these areas where we had strong selling, and if it takes those out, it means the bulls sort of reassert themselves. So there's always going to be hidden whales and hidden bulls in a market that even looks weak. So we've seen that a lot in crypto since it's a very thin market. So that said, this low that we had, this red candle here, we don't have an impulsive run off of that. And what I'm saying here about Bitcoin is it's really the same structured Ether. You can look at all of Ether's spike lows, and it's really the same thing. So we're looking at this area. It's trying to get off its rear end, so to speak, but this is nothing about this can be interpreted as an impulse yet. In fact, I see a little triangle here. What that triangle might be we could be forming a larger diagonal, and again, taking out that red bar that started up here. but I'm not going to rely on this until it really forms a diagonal, which would aim up at that 9,900 region. And so, pushing up to this region up here and then having a corrective pullback could set it up for that one more high. But it's pretty saggy. So it's not yet a triangle, but if a triangle should be bullish here given the context. So because that would be wave 1 to A, B triangle, and then a C up higher. It should be. So, but if we break this low here, not only do I lose one of those higher lows, which is important, but also the new experimental core system I'm going to pinpoints this right below this daily candle as turning from the system says 50% position below that. So I have an order. I'm already at 75% of my core, and below that I will be at 50% of my core. I'm using that system even though it's not really well tested. It's really comforting to me to have a stop loss order below that for those inevitable overnight routes that we get in crypto. Sometimes we get the opposite, we get an overnight run, but if we get an overnight route, at least I'm ready with taking care. But I think it's also just very important from price action on the daily, like I was saying, and I'm going to emphasize that to you guys again. I want to take it slow here. It's really, really important because once we take out one of these lows, we lose that higher low, which is probably what the bulls are hanging their hat on to right now. But context too, I want to say is it's not a very reliable top pattern in terms of Elliott wave structure. In fact, it far looks more like the ascending triangle right now at this point from an Elliott wave perspective than it does something very bearish, because it looks fairly incomplete. But it simply could mean that our fifth wave completed in a very short C wave right at that top. So I was calling it truncated, but studying it, I'm like, well, that could be a short C wave in a fifth of a diagonal and call it complete. So I'm gonna stop calling it truncated from that perspective at this point in time. But again, so what's the context? Just the bottom line. We have warnings, lots of warnings in this structure. We have a nice run off the March 12th. We have very anemic price action, but that price action right now is putting in higher lows. So we really can't put ourselves in the staunch bear camp, but we should put ourselves in the risk camp, being really careful with what we've earned off the low. I know some people were really tentative about taking positions off the low. So maybe some of you didn't earn much, but it certainly is worth, regardless, taking cautionary note. So in terms of what's next, let's just take the again, we may get that one more high. That high should be the last. If we do, I've been looking for it, but it's been having a difficult time coming in. So what do we look at right now? Again, I've marked support on this in the impulsive charts and the B wave charts. The support for the high B wave and the impulse are really the same. I'm going to merge the B wave into this chart just for in some way. I just want to find a nice, careful way. One, I hate my charts having lots of extra alt counts on top of them to the point where they're confusing. That tends to create questions. At the same time, I hate piling in lots of charts into the report because that also is confusing. So I want to try to find a very simple, concise way to layer the B wave count over this. And so bear with me while I figure out how to do that. I want to spend some time on it because it's a chart that's going to stick with us for a period of time. Again, as I said in the report, the manner in which we've come off the March low coupled with where we hit on the March low really, really sticks the B wave count in my mind. It's going to be with us a while. And again, it's a really strong upside breakout. I think it's like 35K, but I'll need to double check that, is really what it takes for me to ignore the B wave count. And again, that B wave can be part of a triangle. That B wave can be part preceding a strong C wave to 2000. That also we don't know. But we're going to give you, I'm going to give you levels, ins and outs of all of this as we go. And if anything is unclear at any time, yeah, John, I did hit record. Yeah, thank you for bugging me. Sometimes I don't. Yeah, so so we'll guide through that. I'm trying to also reveal information as is really clear and also very pertinent, so that everyone's not got information overload. So sometimes we'll want to jump ahead and say, where are we in the B wave? Well, I'm really careful. I'll answer that question for sure, but I also want to be very careful about overloading. If this, then that, with all of those parameters, with really sticking to the upfront, what's in front of us. And what's in front of us right now is a question whether we get one more high, and at the same time we're seeing decaying internals. You can really see it here with the MACD also. Just look how we've had divergent top as we go, and now that daily MACD is crossed down again. Can the MACD cross back up after a cross down? Yes, absolutely, because price makes MACD. MACD doesn't make price. But the MACD is calling out that real strong loss of momentum that we have here. Okay. So that's all important. I get when I stick the one here at that our top price, we have 45.20 as the bottom end boundary of this wave 2. And again, one emphasis I want to say: strong support levels are not targets. They are not the same. When I say target, I'm taking a projection of a price pattern. So I would say A, B, and C. I would project a C. The only C wave I'm going to get out of this from a projections target standpoint is probably going to land about 7,500. That doesn't mean we hold 7,500 either. But I'm giving you sort of the typical. In fact, if you want to be really broad about this, it's possible that we get a shallow move to 6,900 in this wave 2. That would be a very shallow wave 2, but we've seen them enough times. There's also, as you guys know, been long, because corrective waves morph so many times, we could get a strong move off the 38. We may think the wave 2 is done, and then it craps out and we go lower. So, in other words, rallying a B wave out of that 38.2 would be very typical. So again, this wave 2, once we are sure we're in it, is going to require a lot of patience. Also from a fib perspective, besides looking at daily candles, crossing the 762 off the low also sort of confirms, it's a 23.6, sorry, 23.6 retrace, 8100 really confirms the wave 2 is in progress, because you don't typically hit that if you're still in your impulse at this point in time. So after you've had a wave 4, so that would be another sign that would indicate, a breaking of not just that daily low, but also some of more of these daily lows that are in there. It looks like not that one yet, or it's really close. So that'd be another fib confirmation level. So again, I'm still questioning whether we're in it, but I think we're starting to lean that way. And so if you're a holder, honestly, even if you're a holder, you really should consider taking some profit, to be honest, especially if you have a profitable position now. At least take a partial. I don't like, we're looking at a 50% loss potentially a little bit more than that potentially if we start to really slide. And to me, it's not even if you're a holder, I mean, is it really worth it? That's a substantial hit. So, but again, if you don't have much money in crypto and it doesn't matter that much to your entire portfolio, yeah, I understand treating that different. So anything I say about core and positioning and all that really pertains to your personal situation. But just think about it further. If we break 45.20, I'm looking at a move down to 2,000. So in the alt WXY, this would be a B wave top. In a Y wave, again, that's a sort of low level alt highlighted right now in the intermediate write up, which was taken off last night. Again, I'm going to rewrite that. I'm going to start rewriting it this weekend, but not post until I have really concrete numbers on it, which we don't yet. But just keep this support level in mind if we really, really start to tip. High B wave, trying to help you guys navigate that. I mean, the support level for the high B wave continuing, meaning the C wave continuing higher in this B wave, because there's nothing about this unless it reached 11.2. It's not even really breaching a reliable B wave top, and even more reliable would at least be a run to 16,000. The 100 extension here. So it really isn't a reliable B wave. So I prefer to see an action much like I'm showing here. Again, these levels for this 3 and 4 and 5 are just sketched in here because I don't have anything to base them on except eyeballing those key extensions that are up here for the B wave, which starts at 16K and goes all the way up to 28K. So we don't have that, but really the support level is the same. So we're still in a point where nothing about the action says is confirming of the impulse versus the B wave, except This was a really low hit again, and then this is really poor action to really consider a wave one of a three. It's too high, but doesn't have a reliable 5 waves, so it's really not reliable. So I prefer the B wave right now, but preference is preference. We really need to get a lot more confirmation, and we can expect both the impulsive count, that is the move all the way up through to 71K in the third and higher. We can really expect that plus the B wave to hold similar support level. So there isn't really too much to do about what's going on up here until we really see whether we hold. So, the main thing about navigating in, I think it was Andy or somebody has a question about the B wave in GBTC, which we'll get to that, and I'll cover that question. Sorry, Native Texan, you got that question about navigating these B waves. I think it was somebody else. Anyway, it really is right now a question of whether we hold this support level. It pertains to both counts, so it's not really we're not really time to worry about that B wave. We have reached a key level where we should get a pullback, and really the question is whether we hold in that pullback. Tactically speaking, I'm running off my core algo that is highly experimental. You guys may choose to do that or not, but just know that it hasn't had been treated with machine learning. It's still highly experimental. It's only been back tested as it stands right now. We have a lot of projects in the algo team, so I don't know when we'll get to this one, but once we break the daily candle we have there at this daily candle here, it will call out a 50% position, and then there's another step where it goes to zero, and then there was a slight edge on shorting, so I will probably go from not only go zero position when the algo fires negative, but I will also short or look for short entries in Bitcoin proper, because now what you do personally with navigating this. I really can't say what's right for you, because what you trade as a time frame may not be what I do, and so me projecting my tactics on your situation is very difficult. But just stare this in the face where we have. I don't know why this. Oh, I have this one is a different spot. I don't know. I don't know how you feel about this lost potentially down to 45.20, and then maybe even break that when we get there. Again, buying. I won't be buying at 45.20 unless I see a reverse in momentum, which I've done a lot better in discovering what signs are reliable in that regard. One being divergence, two being some momentum indication, breaks of averages and RSI and all that stuff. I won't be buying until we get there. And so, whether you hold into that or not is really your choice, but really count the cost of holding from here and the risk that's involved. That's the main thing in terms of tactics. I'm telling you my tactics. I will not be long at all. By the time we reach 45.20, I will have flattened my position. Where that will be, I don't know right now, but I know where I'm going 50%. That's at the last daily candle, red candle. But I will actually be shorting probably most likely into that support level. So, but whether that's your approach or not, you really have to just step back and say, okay, do I want my portfolio to hit 45.20? And if not, you got to take action. Simple as that. And what the appropriate action is really determinant on your personal situation. So I hope that answers your question, Native Texan, in terms of approach. I've shared what I'm doing, and hopefully that makes sense. And if not, let me know. But you have to really learn to put your own plan together based on risk levels. That's really the only way to trade this. And an analyst can't do that for you. Really can't, because I have no idea what your purview, your issues, your emotional well-being, your financial situation does. I'm not a personal advisor. That's why it's not only illegal for me to do that, but I actually don't have the information to do that, because I don't know what your situation's like. So that's why I share my personal tactics and encourage everyone only to take that as educational and form your own plan. Okay, so I hope that helps. GBTC, and again, I'm intentionally very gabby this morning, so bear with me, but I want to make sure you guys are super ready for what's about to go down if we do tip over. GBTC is GBTC to me. May be called a finished pattern, but I think more reliably is a truncated ABC. Even though these highs are slightly over, they're really sort of incomplete pattern. But if I put it in a similar situation as Bitcoin, that was our little anemic fifth right there. It's an ABC, so it fits in the diagonal, so it's very much possible. What I can say about this actually is this is a valid leading diagonal where in Bitcoin, I really have a hard time making completed diagonal, but rather have an ABC. So that's one good thing about GBC. And of course, if you paid attention, this low here was not too low for this impulse. The only reason I'm have a high B wave in this scenario is because if Bitcoin does have a high B wave, GBTC does correlate on that larger time frame. So it will do something bad, meaning Bitcoin 2K, GBTC goes to 2. But anyway, here we are. I'm flat now, and hopefully everyone got that advertisement. I have no GBTC right now in my portfolio whatsoever. The momentum signal is turned down. So that account I liquidated per my rules, and then I just don't like the potential of gap down in the situation. So again, I may be wrong on that. We don't get that move. We do get that move to 13. I've been looking for it, but I don't trust it anymore, and that's enough for me in my trading to vacate the premises. Okay, so I'm much more happy to grab this. I will evaluate the support at 929, but we have this little red projection here that is valid, and we have a valid 5 down here. We either are projecting down to this 815, which when I use pre-market data, it actually comes out 769. But we can also be forming a WXY here, so A, B of that, if that WXY, that would take us to about 9. So that may be that it holds at 929 by getting a Y wave, a C of a Y wave down to 929. I tend to litmus test everything with the impulse. So the impulse takes us down to 815. So it's not a very reliable pattern because it's just GBTC Nano with all that illiquidity. It fools me all the time. So I always tell you guys, this is my projection. It's valid, but valid doesn't mean it comes, everything tends to be low probability at this degree in GBTC. But what's the main thing here? Just look at that support level. If 929 goes, then I'm expecting the best support down is the 718 down to 620. So consider that. I have advertised to you guys, and I took my position flat. So hopefully you guys are at least considering. Again, your own plan needs to be your own plan, but do consider if it's helpful what I do. Do consider that I have gone flat. And again, I'm very happy to be wrong in the situation because I count the cost of risk higher than the loss of reward. Some people will take a FOMO approach to the market, and it is my perspective from my past that the FOMO approach to the market is a way to lose money over time. So I don't take the FOMO approach to the market, and I worry about what I have lost out unless the probability is very high that that trade plays out. I think the probability is decreasing in terms of getting that one more high, and I don't want to be playing against a decreasing probability, and with a risk of a major, 450% loss, basically. I really don't want to play with that. So, it's different with BTC because BTC I can stop out in a 24-hour market. This one will gap down if GBTC has a bad night. So it's a bit more of a a take based on what I'm seeing, in Bitcoin and worrying about what then GBTC might do. Okay, Ether. I hope I don't lose my voice. It's already fairly crackly this morning. Again, GBTC, this could be anemic C wave top. This isn't a convincing topping pattern at all, but we're seeing the same. The actual internals on Ether really are not ramping down like, at least when I looked recently, are not ramping down as much as Bitcoin is. Let's see if it's changed at all. I'm curious. I mean, you can see that we have a range struck in this GBTC, and we have a higher low in the GBTC. So the internals, I mean, I look at RSI much like price. We have a higher low so far. So if we start to break this little range forming here, then the internals are really starting to come down. But Fisher is really not looking happy. So that's a little bit ill. I haven't looked at MACD, but I'm sure I like Fisher more than MACD. They do almost the same thing. So RSI, except it has a relative strength function as well that MACD doesn't really have. So looking a little sick, but not nearly as sick as Bitcoin. So not much to add there. Let's just revisit our supports just so we know where they are. I get 108.30 now. for the 786 retrace, 764, 786. They're all both really close, but that's the region. So that's more than a 50% decline from where we're at now, which is, it's pretty typical. Ether is more volatile, so if it wants to just really start running, of course, the Ether Bitcoin pair is quite bullish. I don't know if there's any more. I'm not going to gab so much about it because everything I've said about managing your position, using those daily candles is potentially a stop out. If you're long, again, I'm not long in Ether right now, and I'm interested in shorting it in USD. I can't remember if I'm long Ether and Bitcoin. Yes, I am, because I got another technical signal out of this with a 2-hour RSI climbing. So, and this looks like a triangle to me, so it may be ready to go. Pretty interesting context. One thing I want to remind everyone that if you're a crypto OG in 2017, this chart being bullish usually meant that cryptos were bullish too as a whole. That actually has been quite different since 2018. In fact, it's even been different since 2019. When this chart has been moving up, most of the time cryptos are moving down, which is pretty interesting. But it's less consistent now. So often it's back to 2017. So what that says about this chart is we really can't take this chart and correlate that to Bitcoin. And again, I'm just being objective. Like you can just look at it yourself. It isn't reliable anymore to say when this chart is up, then cryptos are up. In fact, I've found it far more reliable. The opposite. Since I've been trading this chart pretty actively, I've noticed it even more so now that I've been cautious about being long this chart when cryptos are going up as well. So just keep that in mind. Not much else to say about that. It's just pretty interesting, but I think it highlights how weak altcoins are in this market since 2018, and they really haven't gotten off the rear end. I mean, Ether's kind of in that to a degree, in that its chart's pretty bad long term. With a high B wave, maybe setting it up for $40, that will be a horrific. For Ether bulls, will be a horrific move because it really retraces much of the 2017 move. Where Bitcoin really hasn't really threatened much of the 2017 move in any of its action since 2018. Okay, so I've been talking a lot. Question for you guys is: do you feel ready for this correction when it comes? Do you feel ready for the inevitable FOMO that it will happen if we break out to a higher high? Which can still happen. We haven't confirmed that we're in that wave 2 yet. Are you feeling confident that you're ready and prepared to navigate that? That's the main question for you guys. And if you're not, please ask me questions that will help you with that. That's really what I want to leave this webinar with you guys, feeling confident that you have your house in order for this potential correction, in terms of where we're at. So let's see, Antonio asks, so you see Ether going nowhere? No. I mean, so we can revisit. If you're asking about the long term. So again, we can only stay in the present. Okay, like you have to be really careful about Elliott wave being too predictive. I still have this valid count where we bottomed in the 2, and this is sky high. I mean, this is in the millions. But again, as I always say, playing this chart is ridiculous. Why play this chart when there's lots of volatile multi-X action and including corrections that are like 75% deep, all within this range right here? If we really break out in this multi-year breakout, then this is our count. But right now we basically have a strong move in 2018, and we have a very flat bottom in this, which can be accumulation. But until we have a major breakout, and I forget where it's at, but somewhere over 600, we can't even get to this level. Okay, so I think more likely, given this action, is we also have this B wave, which sets us up for 40, and then potentially even as low as 25, or even the 786, which is at $2.35. I don't think we'll get that low, but so going nowhere. Well, a move down here still potentially sets up that larger move up and just gets us a reset for that. But again, what I always tell people, so what if I have this projection out here? If you're sitting here, if you want to play this, well, just put some Ether in a trunk that you don't care about, and some hard wallet or whatever that you just never want to touch, and hopefully maybe someday you're selling it for millions. But honestly, this is sort of ridiculous to trade for this. Where I think we're going to have very difficulty getting any higher than 600 over the next year or two. So I don't think it may just be Ether that goes nowhere. It may be cryptos again. If we're in a big triangle, which is one of the scenarios, we may not see crypto go anywhere for another year to year and a half. So that's the main point. And moon counts are sort of untradeable if you ask me until you really prove that multi-year breakout in the chart. Where all that resistance is gone, it's liquefied and it's pushing out. I mean, gold, for you guys that have been on the sideline, you guys know how Avi has been looking for this current breakout that we have in gold over many years, and that's the same thing. I'm standing here the same way, and maybe I've learned from Avi. I don't want to say his mistakes. He was absolutely right about the gold breakout, but it just took forever. And for those that were very long in 2016, which I was still fairly new to the site because I joined in 2015. I was very long and got kind of hit hard, not watching my risk. And so I learned that I learned from that experience that Elliott wave counts are a really important tool. But if the lower time frames are not playing along, then don't put your stakes in that bigger expectation. The time frames sort of work from bottom up, and so in trading. So it's cool to have a target on the larger time frame, but until the lower time frames are working into that perspective, then you're kind of just burning your money. So anyway, hopefully that answers your question. So what would I need for a Bitcoin short setup? I need I'm not going to short Bitcoin, unless it breaks that daily candle. What was that, 90? I think it's 9,200 or no, 9060. So not interested in short setups unless that breaks. But honestly, it seems to me that my core algo has a way better edge on shorting than I do on myself with Elliott Wave. Just looking, again, if you track my trading, I killed it in the 2019 rally, and I completely ate up a decent, not all of my return, just a decent amount. I got in the May drop, even though I was right about the drop. It was so shaky and so whipsaw that I did not short very well, and I basically gave up some of my 2018 return. Bottom line, me personally, I have a very low edge on shorting, so I'm kind of relying on that core algo to start firing short, and then I'll sell based on technicals. So I can't answer where I'm going to short yet because I don't know, but I'm interested in it. But I want to be really careful about it this time. I have no interest in giving up the return that I've gotten off the March 12th low. So I'll stay tuned for that. I'll call it out. But honestly, most people, if you are not happy with your trading over the last couple of years, don't short. You're not going to do well. That, like, mastering shorting shouldn't happen until after you've mastered long. So that's one thing I just want to say to everyone. Honestly, like, most people on the site should ignore all my short trades, to be honest, because if you're unhappy with your long trading, don't start adding salt to the wounds by shorting the market. It just really doesn't help. Just use varying degrees of long. I mean, I don't know how many people just burned up their accounts new to Elliott Wave when Avi was looking for a B wave top, which again he was right about, but just came later and more drawn out, and people kept shorting, and there were honestly body bags. People were carried out in body bags on the main chart. Same thing will happen here if you guys aren't cautious about shorting. Okay. Do you find correlation between multi-currencies and the stock market? Okay, so I get asked this question. It tends to bend me out of shape. I'm going to try not to get bent out of shape. Okay, so do I see correlation between the stock market and crypto? There has been a lot of correlation between cryptos and the stock market since 2018. It did not exist before. So not very well. Okay, so if you're trading, so I'm going to ask you, so what? Does it matter? Because you can't spot resistance and support on Bitcoin by looking at S&P 500. So is it useful to trading? No. Okay, so that's the first important point. Second, correlation in markets comes and goes. So if I have 20 years of trading experience. I was working corporate, so as a hobbyist, I traded gold a lot from 2001 to 2010. If you look during that period of time, most of the time dollar and gold are inverse correlated. And if you had been trading that and you entered the 2000, I think it was 2008 to 9 period, they were directly correlated, not reverse correlated, directly correlated. So if you were trading that dollar to gold relationship, you would have screwed yourself. So that's the same thing here. If you guys are trading Bitcoin based on the stock market, at some point in time, it's going to flip on you. I promise. You will lose money if that's what you're doing. And besides that, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how do you I've been trading the S&P 500 E-minis futures and Bitcoin regularly, day trading for the last few months, and they correlate some days and some days they don't. So if you're trading that even on a micro level, you're going to kind of screw yourself over time. So do they correlate? Yes, they have been since 2018. Is it useful for trading? Absolutely not. So that's again, I'm going to hammer that in, and you can't convince me for anything simply because if you're trading that, you have no object unless you have an algo that tells you when they correlate and when they don't. I have no edge on that. And again, I stare at both charts every single day. So again, I'm going to emphasize to you, like, does it matter? It really, really doesn't. So where can we monitor your core algo? You can't. Again, I have a business that is in the process of developing algos. I'm keeping them proprietary simply because we want to license them. It's totally separate from EWT. So what's going to happen is if these algos work over time, again, GBTC is ahead in terms of the testing. If they work over time, we'll form a portfolio on the site. Again, I'm in regular conversation with EWT management. We'll form a portfolio on the site. I'm not, you guys are all going to experience the reward of it. But I'm not going to give you guys all the proprietary stuff because partly because I have a business partner that's doing most of the work, and he doesn't benefit from EWT. So that's the main reason, and so I want to give him the opportunity to form a business out of it, or we form business together. Number two, we'll form a portfolio out of it. It'll have notifications, all that, but I'm not going to do that until it's very well tested. I'm trading the algos right now. I'm sharing them with you on the site intraday, but I'm not going to put a notification system out until it's really reliable, because that would be a mistake. Once I do that, everyone will be jumping on it, and it's really foolhardy to be on top of a signal. But I'm also posting them so you guys can monitor them. You guys might consider putting a small portion of your money in there with the signal, but you have to be really careful. It's really untested. So I hope that answered its question. I hope that makes sense. But I'm not going to give you the proprietary stuff because especially a friend of mine put a ton of work in it, and he needs to benefit from that. And also, once something's out of the box, they tend to algos tend not to work over time because everyone's using them. If suddenly someone on the site took it public, this is how Ryan trades his core and all that, and then it pretty soon doesn't work. All right, hope that makes sense. Any more questions on Bitcoin, Ether, and Bitcoin basis? But again, Georgie, I gave you the price. It's 90.60. I gave that on the site. Again, if you don't know what I've said about the Bitcoin algo, it's really simple. I made a tag, BTC Core. You can see all of my posts on that signal. So I'll continue to use that tag every single post, so you can look it up if you don't know where I'm at. But that's very different from having the portfolio with notifications. It needs to be well tested before we do that. Hopefully that makes sense. All right. So any more questions before I move to the requests? I think, again, main thing from this webinar, are you ready for a correction? And are you ready for managing the FOMO if we break out to one more high? So that's the two questions. If you're not ready for that, ask questions to help you get ready. It really comes down to your own personal plan. But I'm trying to give you the information needed and tactics, my approach to it. My approach right now is, again, my main approach is GBTC flat. I don't want that gap down. Bitcoin, I'm 75% position. Below 90.60, I think it is. I got to double check. 90.60, I'm 50% position. And then I can't tell you where the algo is going to fire 100% position off. because it's not price based, it's momentum based. But we'll check it out. I'll post when I go there. But anyway, it's the market looks a little weak at this site. So think about it and let me know if you have any more questions. So 90.64 short. No, I will be 50% long. I will be 50% long below 90.60. And again, that's just me. I think it's actually kind of wise to be flat below 90.60, but I'm using the core system. I don't want to jump to short because again, I'm short when we get to a zero position in that algo. And I'm probably foolhardy for playing that algo, but as you guys saw in the post, it has a pretty good edge in the past. We'll see if it does in the future. But and again, I don't know where the algo will fire short. I don't know. It's momentum based, not price based. That's one of the problems. It has a price for the 50%. It doesn't have a price for the 0%. So that's all I can say at this point in time. I don't know where exactly. I can guess. I mean, it might be at like 7,000, 7,500 or something like that, but it's just a guess. Okay. Sorry, I'm gabbing and I'm running out of juice, but hopefully that makes sense. If there's any other questions about manager tactics, I'm gonna get on with the request, but if any come up, let me know. All right, let's see. EOS beat Bitcoin. So I don't keep a count on this anymore, but it looks to me like it needs a fifth 0.023. Okay. Sorry guys, I totally have not been putting my cursor on, have I? So I'll get the cursor on. It looks to me like it needs a fifth to 0.023, but I don't have a long reliable count. I mean, the long term on this is it looks like a big 1-2, but it's just getting low in this area. So again, if we, I've been bullish on EOS in the past, and right now that all of those bullish counts still exist, but until the daily stops downtrending, again, it's back to that time frame thing. Until the daily stops downtrending, I don't care about the bullish weekly. And right now, there's more immediate fruit to be taken short. But right now, I think that it's coming down to 2.3, and that's valid as long as it's over under 3.163. So although I have a stop on my shorts here, because if we break this high, we probably will go up there. But right now, again, I've been trading this on an RSI basis. So 2 hour, take the 2 hour RSI, and as long as it's broken over 30 and doesn't break back over 60, then I'm short. And it's been pretty reliable back tests, but I'm just taking the first trades on it, and that's the way I'm trading it. So I hope that makes sense. XRP, BTC, I have no count at all because it's just a downtrend. This thing is just a downtrend. It's one of the greatest shorting charts I've ever seen in crypto, because Kraken gives us 3x, 3x. So that's USD. I don't know where it's going exactly, but again, what's my plan? I always short below 30. On EOS BTC, I said 30, 40. I short below 40. I keep to my short as long as RSI stays below 60, and then I take profit down below 20. So that's basically the way I trade it. I have no idea where it's going. I just catch those downtrends, keep it going. I'm looking at the edge. I'm looking at the daily right now. It really is the 2 hour that I short. I'm looking for another edge on this on the daily time frame to say, to avoid some of these big giant shots up, to see if there's some kind of edge there in the technicals. I haven't got an answer yet, but that's the plan. Pretty easy. The other thing I want to say is there's also an edge on the 2 hour of shorting when it shoots over 80 as well. So when it hits over 80, I take a small short, because that also can mean an uptrend for a while. But I keep it, so it's just all about sizing. So the bulk of my position happens around 60 RSI as long as it doesn't break, because that's the stop. Again, trading close to the stop is the best way to avoid a lot of risk. So nothing, again, no count on this one. I don't know where it's going. Right now it's in a short position. You can see how the RSI is hovering below 60. So I am personally slightly short right now. Let's see, LTC. Not a whole lot to add on this. Again, this is one of those deadly charts. Looks to me like it topped way back here. I want to emphasize that I have a hard time calling this a 1. It looks like an A to me, or worse, it's a B, and we're about to go down to 5. because it's not a reliable 5-wave move. I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt that maybe we form a diagonal like Bitcoin, but it just doesn't look like it. So it doesn't look to me like there's a really strong probability that 29 holds. So, but I don't. One thing I don't have is I haven't shorted this more regularly simply because it's not impulsive down. That's the only good side for bulls, but it just may simply mean that we've got a diagonal down. So I don't have a really strong edge on the micro at all. But honestly, that top is really bad. It's really, really, really bad. So so my take on this chart continues continues, to be very bearish, but it's not a very easy chart to short in terms of the way I look at it. So Native Texan, hopefully I answered your question in that long read in the beginning. Again, I have a hard time seeing inside the heart of a long-term trader. Very difficult for me. I am not a long-term trader, but you really have to just say, okay, where's my risk at? And if you're long right now, your risk is 50%. And if you don't like that 50%, then naturally you should take some off the table. So you just have to really count up that risk level against support and feel comfortable with that. That's really how easy it is to making a plan. That if you trade with that in mind, you should be successful over time, and you want to be adding close to that support level. So for the long term, and 50% to me is, from my perspective, that's a long term drop. Although it may only be like a month or not or something. To me, I don't care about time. I care about price. I don't like looking at my portfolio drop 50%. So so again, look at the heart of it and whether it makes sense to you, whether to make that plan. Link, again, I have very little to say about this long term. I mean, it's a very low probability chart. So no change there. We'll bring it up just to look at it, but I don't really have anything to add. I think there's a decent probability that B-Wave's topped, but I don't have any strong projection down. When I look at the short term, it gets even trickier. It looks pretty toppy to me, but the problem is, let's see, where's my link chart? There it is. The problem is it does look like it might be a 3-wave top, which could say, okay, we get one more high, but it's not this count here. That's not valid anymore. So it's really unclear. It might be that we have, from this move here, we have 1, 2, and then this was our third, and then we get a 5 in a diagonal here. But it just isn't. So that means the channel, the operative channel, would be this. But I have to say, if you're trading for this, you're insane. This chart is getting weaker by the day, so be really careful. I've been, E-Link BTC, I'm still in a long trade here, but I've kept it really small. I think I am. It broke here. Well, no, technically I shouldn't be, but it also went really low, so I sometimes buy small positions at the low. I'll have to look at it, but it looks like it's curling up against Bitcoin right now, but that doesn't mean anything about the USD chart. So interesting one. Let's see, EOS. I don't think anything to add there. It is like Litecoin. It looks horrible, but I'm not comfortable shorting it because I don't have a real strong edge. I mean, this is some nasty whipsaw, not impulsive down. Strong move there, then retrace more than fourth. Classic unimpulsive move down. So I don't really have, and support level is 165. So that we have that to count on, but I don't have anything in micro that is crystal clear at all. BCH. I mean, this is a weird move. If I was to guess on this, because there's nothing reliable about this chart, that this is the B and we're about to sink down into the double digit. But it really is a poor read. I mean, this is a 3-wave move. So what am I saying? I'm going to change the count, but problem is it's not very reliable. So I say all of this very carefully. That would be an X. I'm going to have to move that off because it's going to give me a warning signal. That would be an X, not a B, and then this is the probable count. But honestly, if you're thinking you're going to catch a move to 75, nothing reliable about this at all. So I would be cautious about it, but it looks like it has a chance. I'll take this off now because it doesn't work. This like has a chance to go down to 75, but I don't think it's reliable enough to trade at all. Saggy, but not impulsive, so that's the problem. XRP, and again, I have a poor edge on short, so I'm prejudiced about shorting markets. I have to have a really strong edge, and if I don't have a read on either technicals or the short term count, I will not say it's a good short setup. But you might feel different about it, but you're kind of on your own. Because again, I do a lot better with managing a core position than I do a short. So I still like this count. I mean, 13 cents is support. Same thing though. This is not impulsive down. So like BCH, it's maybe saying it's not going to 75. This may be saying it's not going to 13 or even 5 is another target on this chart. But I still like that that's a support level to watch. So for long trades, but not short trades, I don't have anything reliable. I mean, you can use any of these highs for stops to your comfort level if you want to try to short it. See BTC, GBC, got that. Verge. It's moving. It's not impulsive though. All I can say, Yoda, is that this is good. I mean, we broke over a daily high. That's really encouraging. Now we need to hold a higher low so we can turn this chart into a uptrending chart. Right now, again, you can see for 2 years we've trended down. Right now, this doesn't change that. We only have one high. So if we get a higher low, great, then we can trade it. But I don't, and this is not impulsive. This has really got liquidity problems. So I really don't have anything to really say about this move yet. This can be a C on this 4, and then we go to new all-time lows. There's no ruling out that. So Ryan, could you do an hourly chart for the B wave scenario in GBC? I think I already got that. We can let's see. So the problem here, Andy, is that we don't have enough information for this chart. I mean, it doesn't matter if I click this hour; it's going to be the same thing. The support level is 608. That's all we have. So once we have a hit here, then I can map out the 3, 4, and 5. Right now, these are just sketch. I'm just kind of estimating against the larger extension. The same thing I said about Bitcoin earlier. So none of this can be relied upon at this point in time. Right now, but it'll be up here somewhere. I mean, I think that 45 would be as I recall, is the upper extension, and I think it was 17 to 20 is the lower. It looks to me like based on this move, it's going to go higher than 17. So 20 would be sort of a minimum expectation just from a sketch perspective. But until I have a fib to project off of for this 2, I don't have any information up here. So hopefully that makes sense. So the main thing we can only say right now is that 608 is support. Okay, below 608, I'm looking at 2. So that's the only thing, and that applies for the impulsive count. That applies to B wave. It's the same thing I said about Bitcoin. So hopefully that makes sense. We'll have to wait and be patient with what happens going down the line. SC, so SIA coin against Bitcoin as well. So it's the same thing. Last webinar, I think we had this as a request. So it's the same thing. We have a 5th wave. That's good. But again, this can be a C wave. So we have to hold a corrective retrace in 2. I'll give you support as it is now, but I have no reason to say it has high probability of holding because this chart on the daily is a disaster. But let's see. So 1/10 of a cent, as long as it holds 1/10 of a cent, then I can map out the next degree. But right now, I don't think it has very high probability of holding that level. So let's just see. Let's see SIA in Bitcoin. I don't think there's a valid count here. Yeah, I don't have a valid count here, so I don't have much to say about this. This is terrible action. If we go to a daily, let's see. I mean, I don't know what to make of this chart at all, to be honest. I mean, it looks to me like it's going to attack this high, and then we'll see if it gets a little bit higher. That can be an ABC, so that doesn't rule out new all-time lows at all. In fact, I would expect new all-time lows based off this chart, but it's not an Elliott wave perspective. It's just not a healthy chart. Maker. I don't think this is playing out when I look at this, but it still might be. It just isn't clean. I said, I know previously I said 414 is support. I think now you can use whatever low is struck here. Is that still barreling down? It's still barreling down. This is a top. This looks like it topped already, to be honest. And this is a WXY top, and it goes new all-time lows. But I can't say it's really reliable in this chart. So WXY top, and then going down to 100. But I can't say until it breaks 414 for sure. But it really should have. It really needs to hold 503 after hitting the 100 extension. That's one of our Elliott Wave rules from Avi's work. So it's about to break it. So I think it is in breakdown path, but I can't say for sure. Let's see. Next. Theta. I looked at it. Let's see. And the best. So this is a terrible mess. I know this bar is wrong because I looked at Binance. The best I can make out is this can get a fifth wave if it holds 16 cents. That's the best I have. So this fourth and fifth becomes valid. I really hate the look of this chart, and I would never trade it in any of my even with the smallest position at all, because it spent way too long in a 2, and then it's got kind of pump and dump look to it. Again, some news on the project pushes the trade up, and then it loses liquidity, and then it drops right back. And so that just feels that way to me. But if you are trading it above 16.7, 16.7 cents, I can consider that it can still get that fifth wave. And the target for that fifth wave nominally is $1.07. So if it goes, it would be really great. But personally, be really, really, really careful. Let's see. So Triple is asking, can you explain why your big triangle count for BTC is so much more drawn out than Chappelle's? It's a huge difference as his is heading down to completion. Yeah, it's really simple. And again, his is valid. So, you this again, I hate to tell people, respect both triangles because it becomes a bit less actionable. But it's really simple. If I actually look at his triangle, and this is me being nitpicky, if I look at his triangle, because again, it is valid, but if I look at his triangle, which let's see, A, B, C, D, E, coming down an E, right? Then break out. The problem is I have this as descending. So I would rather see in the triangle in this situation be A, okay, and then a B wave triangle, A, B, C, D, E. E is up here because it's slightly descending. Then it breaks down in a large C, and then we're down, down close to at least 1600. So that would be the way I would approach a triangle if this is a key leg of the triangle. But because I'm going to start from a symmetrical triangle, this would be A, B, and C. So the top of so A, B would be up here because this is 5 waves. So that's another thing, is I'm bothered by having a main leg of a triangle be 5 waves, or potentially being 5 waves. So A, B, C for the B, C, D, E, and it's drawn out. Okay, so it's really simple. Two things. One, I consider this 5 waves. Number 2, I would start with symmetrical first, and I don't count his triangle as symmetrical if you actually line up the fibs. And I'm being nitpicky for sure, but because it could be slightly descending symmetrical triangle, but to me it looks like it's descending if it's doing that. Okay, and if you can lay it out and visualize it and see if you feel different about it, but that's what it looks like to me. Last question, and then we'll check see if you guys. So reasonable hedging methods and strategy for people outside of the U.S. So if you're outside of the U.S., I would use Deribit. Again, don't take it as a recommendation because I really can't do that. But I used to trade there until they got picky about KYC. But if you really want hedging, you really want to use options, and their options are liquid. Where LedgerX.com for Americans is not liquid. So so that it's but if you don't understand options, then you kind of have a problem. But the reality is options are the best hedging vehicle because of convexity. And if you don't understand convexity, check out Leo's YouTube video so you understand that. But convexity makes for the best hedging vehicle simply because if it goes against your hedge, you're still making money. If you take a linear approach, meaning you take futures or you take a short position on Kraken, if you're 1-to-1, you're not really hedging. I mean, honestly, you're really not hedging because you're just basically dropping off a net position. So so the best hedge is go to cash. Okay. But if you want to instead say, okay, I'm going to be long and then I'm going to scalp against my long position, then you can use Kraken or BitMEX futures or Deribit futures. Honestly, I would use Deribit over BitMEX now because BitMEX is showing a lot of problems. in the wicking that's going on and the slippage that's going on on that exchange. So honestly, I can say avoid BitMEX with what I'm seeing in the data. But that's the best approach. But again, better than that. And again, if you're not great at shorting, you're just going to burn up your money. If you don't have a lot of experience in shorting, it might be best just go to cash, to be honest. It'll be a lot more. And I'm going cash this round, given that I have my signal that I'm playing with, because I just don't have a strong enough history myself shorting. I have a better, honestly have a way better track record shorting the S&P 500 mini than I do Bitcoin, to be honest. And part of that's Bitcoin when it drops, it gets a bid really fast and then just takes out all the shorts. It always does that, where the stock market has a really hard time bottoming after going into gamma imbalance, which is a whole theory in itself. So anyway, that's the short of it. The short of it. That's funny. All right. So any other questions before I sign off? Let's see. Can you briefly explain your longer term triangle? Yeah. So hopefully that makes sense. Yeah. I mean, that's why I view it. I mean, I always respect. Jason's counts because he's really really good. But I was just looking at it, and so I consider his triangle viable, but it's just nitpicking. It's just me diving into it, making my own opinion about the triangle, and that's my preferred. But don't get me wrong, I will also watch for that that triangle to work that way. All right. So again, just a reminder here: no request on the box, please. Why do I say that? Because one, the workflow is tough for me. Number two, if I allow it, people are going to flood it. That's when I used to do that, people would just flood it and not respect me input. Allow me a chance to get prepared in the thread that I provide every Thursday morning or every Friday morning. So again, I'm going to be really picky on that and ignore requests. So again, just a reminder on that. All right, guys. If no questions, I'm gonna sign off. And if you do some questions come to mind, I'm gonna be hanging out. Probably going on a bike ride, but I'll be back once the recording is finished processing on my computer, and we'll get it up, and I'll be there to cover any questions. Talk to you guys soon.